Walmart makes holiday cooking a breeze for me because I won't have to pay any more this year than I did last year.
If he enjoys this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't enjoy it.
But how do you know? The experiment may express joy in a different way from us.
Yeah, he might like it.
Stop it, stop it.
What's your problem? This is as good as it gets.
Can't be. There has to be something else. Doesn't there? Oh, why don't you experiment on each other?
So, would you be keen?
You're not to touch me. If he...
Steak and beef. Chicken-a-chow. Grapes and eggs. Steak, eggs.
Are you hungry?
No,
You look to
make
me
it
a bit-
stop! Are you a fan of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared? Well, this video you're about to watch is a fan's hastily written analysis of the first episode of the new season of said show. This was made in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep due to paranoia that common household objects were going to strangle me in my sleep. Welcome. Also, before you watch this video, make sure you've seen this episode. Like, everything that I say is kind of out of context, so... you know, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? In the opening theme song, there's three of us. They show the characters building something in pictures. Poor Yellow has accidentally cut his hand. I'm sure that's not foreshadowing anything. You probably noticed a lot of this already, but Roy is looking in on them through a hole in the wall here. Actually, a ton of stuff is going on in this opening sequence. Firstly, there are the spines of the books, which have symbols relating to this episode and the final episode. Then there's this strange runic inscription that might be more sinister than it first appears. The duck spoke and I was slightly put off. No over-the-top autotune? Next you'll tell me some people found the autotune incredibly annoying and unnecessary. But then uncomfortable silence saves the day and reminds me immediately of everything that I loved about the original series. How about we give it another 20 minutes, Red says. No, it's too dull, replies Duck. As I scroll through Reddit looking at some of the more negative reactions to the new episodes, this ends up being many fans' main concern. This idea that the show doesn't have gore quick enough, that focusing on character development is somehow boring or too mainstream. But you know what? Only dull people think things are dull. Notice that the calendar in the back says June 20th, meaning the events of this episode must take place only a day after the events of the original series. Behind the briefcase here, we can see a can of Duck. Noticing this actually ruined my whole day. So thanks for forcing me to relive old nightmares for your entertainment, you sadistic viewer, you. Silly Yellow. He thinks the welt on his back is a job. What in the holy hecking Opeth seminal opus Blackwater Park is that? As has become DHMIS MO, the teacher in this episode is absolutely misleading our favorite couple and their adopted child. The singing briefcase explains they can be whoever and do whatever they want to in life, but as it turns out, they actually don't get to choose. They are led to where they are wanted and kind of just dropped off to fend for themselves, which is pretty much how real-life employment works 99% of the time. Notice he also tells them very little about the actual responsibilities of the jobs he's offering. For example, he tries to spin being a judge as, you can be the one who bangs the hammer when he's angry. We also gain insight here as Duck tells us that he's inventing crypto, but based around respect. And taking what he says later in the episode into account,
How strange. They're pretending they don't respect me.
I would say that he truly believes that everyone respects him. In this new series, we actually get a lot more of the idea of the characters of these puppets than we did in the original. Unemployed Brandon's novel is called The Ultimate Forgiveness, and I think that might be what Brendan is looking for. But like nearly everything else I say in this video, that's just speculation. A random YouTuber's speculation. The nature of the show has changed from the original series. As I said in my video where I rant and rave about the genius of the new season, I found the biggest switch to be in the tone of the show. While the OG 6 episodes were more horror-driven, these 6 new episodes are more comedy, with some horrific moments. The episodes are longer, so the build-up is more of a slow burn, which I think ultimately allows the terror and existential dread to be a lot more meaningful. Anyways, as the briefcase leaves them to their fate, we hear a ringing phone. No, stop it, stop it! Notice all the worker hats have a smiley face. Duck tries to make something. It's not like the bits and parts the assembly line is attempting to create, so the workers destroy it. But Duck says something significant here.
My thing that I did.
He felt as though his creation had value, but it was crushed in favor of making something that conformed to the arbitrary standards imposed by the workplace he was forced into. Remember kids, green is not a creative color. Every single warning sign in this area has a silhouette of Duncan, which I thought was hilarious. When Duck takes Duncan's smile helmet off, his brain is screaming, which I thought was interesting when you later think about the scenes with the care hound. Is it just me, or is the printer trying to fuck the red guy here? Like, am I crazy, or what? Hi there. How are you? How is your child? I have no idea if it is, but this little vending machine guy sounds like David Firth. Obvious little commentary on workplace food here, with everyone getting tainted water, lasagna, and cigarettes for lunch. And the mindless, meaningless workplace banter is very direct parody. Interesting that Duck needs a meal token. I wonder if that's something that'll come up again later. Red shows us here that power corrupts, since he could fire or kill someone, potentially the whole world.
Fire me!
Okay, calm down.
Could fire him or kill him.
Fire the whole world!
The Carehound flyer is amazing. I wish I could work his hours. Plus, the dog just saying yes in the speech bubble is really, really funny. Red guy says working hard or hardly working here, which is referenced later, and he assumes someone else will wash his hands for him. He ended up getting exactly what he wanted and is able to do nothing for the rest of his life as the boss of Petersons and Sons and Friends Bits and Parts Limited. Also, I was having trouble at work, so I called the diagonal number, and guess what happened? Oh, look, nothing. Notice all the emotions on the emotion family are a bit odd. I hate everything. Grr. This song is really sad and something that many people go through on a daily basis. The counseling jargon attempts to confuse and gaslight the Duck into misidentifying his emotions. The books of overanalyzing the mental psyche actually make him fall into the abyss. The charts shown mean nothing. Whisper your problems directly into the mouth of the carehound as I helplessly scream, unable to defend myself against the overwhelming terror of this goddamn puppet! Notice that his hat is now a smile. His emotions were regulated, and the carehound made him happy. The carehound is a therapist whose only concern is getting employees back to work by any means necessary. But the way that this is portrayed brings up some questions I think we should all ask ourselves. We, the audience, know that he has lost the plot. He has been significantly changed, and any sense of self or free will is gone. However, he is happy, and supposedly unaware. Is he better off this way? The entire episode seems to represent how workers are brainwashed into becoming little more than corporate slaves and taught that that's their lot in life while being distracted by meaningless nonsense. The card here seems to say time flies when you're having fun. Red guy says fond farewell, and I just have one thing to say. It's just a fond farewell to a friend. This isn't what I'm like. It's just a fond farewell to a friend who couldn't get things right. Okay, so I'm afraid to ask, but how does this work? The episode gets claustrophobic as the Duck realizes decades have gone by, wasted by the drudgery of bits and parts. Yellow then has a little accident. I think that Yellow being too old to work leads him to getting his hand crushed. It's almost symbolic, as he is now a defective and faulty product of the company. Neither Red nor Duck had any idea how the company worked, and neither did much to deserve the management position. I felt like it was Yellow who ended up being most qualified for the job, but he simply kept his head down and found fulfillment in other things like his family. The workers' reaction to this accident is the best. How they cheer and jump around with excitement is adorable. This guy even says, "This does help me appreciate not being in an accident. I feel so alive." Instead of the deadly disaster being treated like the tragedy that it is, it's used by the company as an example to their employees. Just be glad this isn't happening to you. The money at the end literally blinds Duck to what has happened. Everything is forgotten. I like to think that was a meal token, but sadly nothing on the coin confirms this, so that's just headcanon. The whole ending couple of scenes are chaotic, strangely beautiful, super dark. It's very well done. Show's amazing. It's a deranged fever dream, and I'm all here for it. Be sure to subscribe and tune in next week for my new baking show, Cooking with Grandma, the only baking show where we use the flesh of humans for our meals. In all seriousness, though, if you liked this video, there could be more. If this gets to 300 likes, I will make a similar video for episode 2. And finally, a little bit of self-promotion, but if you want to know how I learned to use my brain to get creative, watch this video right here, this one. Oh yeah, baby, this is the one. This is the video you should be watching. Today, the Pope didn't get killed. He's perfectly fine, and he's on vacation in Aruba. In other opposite news information. Oh, it's always about you, isn't it? Can you believe this guy, ladies and gentlemen? He's got his own news show. He's got a normal name.
As far back as I can remember, I always knew I deserved to be dead.
Welcome back. Make yourself comfortable. Or, if you're just joining us, hello. I hope you're having a good day. Once upon a time, I was having a good day. Then this show stole my innocence and purity. Before we begin, I must ask that you consider watching the series before this analysis. Everything I mention will be fairly out of context if you haven't seen the episode. This is not intended to be a video summary of the show, but more of discussion of hidden details and underlying themes. Here we go. In the main theme song, the duck is shown briefly with pink paint, foreshadowing for everyone's lovable friend, Stain Edwards, the forever boy. Yellow calls himself a pig, which is pretty hilarious, but also tells me it's possible the other characters could be unreliable narrators when describing themselves in this scene. If you look closely at the wall, you will find the clock from the original series is looming over everything. You can see him throughout this entire episode, but he never really interacts with the characters, which is likely for the best. Yellow blankly staring into space with his mouth hanging open is me, all of the time. The newspaper reads, Opinion, which is easy to spot, but if you look closer at the bottom for the split second the newspaper is on screen, you can also read Worm fired for harassment. This show has a lot of interconnected parts and a ton of foreshadowing, which is one of the many reasons why I love it.
How did you die?
I forgot to drink water.
The duck died from not drinking water. This was, frankly, more effective than 1,000 social media posts telling me to drink more water. And I think we should have more subliminal messaging intended to help mentally ill people. Yellow has a D on his shirt, and while I think the current ideas surrounding that detail don't really have enough backing to be proven correct, I'm still going to go over them, so I'm still pointing it out. This episode is one of the strangest in the entire series, if only because Duck is dead and yet continues to walk and talk and be 30 feet tall. He is dead, but it doesn't faze him or anyone else. After learning he has died, the duck stands up to get into his Sunday best, but as he does, his heart drops out of his body. Yellow laughs and says, "You laid an egg. Make a wish." But faintly in the background, you can hear Red say, "Ew, did that fall out of your anus?" The heart rolls across the floor and is absorbed into the floorboards in a really cool homage to the original Hellraiser movie. I wouldn't be surprised if after the coffin gets broken later, Cenobites come and take him away to discover his pleasure. As the eerie music builds to a crescendo, the coffin comes to life. And he is somehow kind of the kindest teacher in the entire series. He actually tries to be helpful. The TV has a fun Wallace and Gromit reference, and I always thought Wallace and Gromit animations were incredible, but also like very strange to watch. Anytime I see them, it feels mildly creepy, and it feels like a perfect reference for DHMIS to make. Now, you remember 15 seconds ago when I stated that this teacher is the most helpful? Now I must tarnish that memory, because while he is generally nice enough, pay close attention to his body language and what he actually says this episode. He approaches the funeral with a step-by-step process that he tries to move along at all costs. He doesn't care at all about any of this. This is just another day for him. This callousness seems to represent the greater industry of funerals and memorials and empty words from people who don't really care. And how could they? They don't even know the person. The coffin thinks Yellow died at first, then is corrected and realizes it's the duck. Look at that! I've been given a wreath! I think this further shows the coffin is putting on a facade of understanding, when in reality, he is just doing his job. Which makes sense, and when I think about it, that making people involved feel comfortable and understood is probably an important part of his job anyway. There's a symbol in the ID drawer here, and the ID card says Red eventually dies in a lake, which doesn't happen in this series but might be giving us a clue for later. Fingers crossed for another freaking season. The coffin says they have no money. It's not a secret or anything, I just thought it was relatable. And 1 like on this video equals 1 slice of bread for my children pictured here. The calendar says June 19th, which not only seems to show that this episode is before Jobs in terms of continuity, but also that it could take place sometime during the original 6 episodes. Either that or this could mean the duck will always die on the 19th. This picture has the date June 19th, 55. Now, a lot of people online have been really mean to Red about his teeth. And I just want to say, as they should. What the hell is this? Is there anything in my life that wasn't a lie? This bottle of soap reads, Barry's Bubbles. This whole song devolving into a recipe for shepherd's pie before they realize they're supposed to be at a funeral is so hilarious, I think I died laughing. I wonder if the shepherd's pie makes anything turn gray. Onion is spelled onion. I wonder if duck